Hey everyone. Sorry I'm a little late. Just try not to make this shake too much. Oh, right on. You got a thumbs up. Hey, oh good, couple of people. You guys help me out. Can we do a sound check here? Can you guys hear me okay? I'm not sure. Just go ahead and reply yes, if you can. Just want to make sure you guys can hear me okay, and can you see me okay? Sound is clear, awesome. Okay, now let me ask you this. I'm gonna plug something in real quick, and tell me if this is better. Okay, give me 1 second. Is this sound better, or is the other sound better? Just say better or worse. Worse? The other sound was better. Got it. Okay, so the iPhone mic was better. Okie doke. All right, how you guys doing on there? What I was going to do is I was going to cover 5 easy steps to success in jiu-jitsu, because we all want to get better, and even I want to get better. But first, let me kind of take a little bit more time to get some people on. I apologize to you who are looking to get on right at 10:15. I had some issues, but everything is good. So anyway, I just had gone on vacation with spring break and stopped off in Shreveport, Louisiana to do a private, actually it turned out to be a semi-private, over at Gator Pit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And Brian and his team there are great people, great people. And their jiu-jitsu is very, very basic, just like what we do. It just came down to, I was just kind of showing a little bit of nuances that would correct a lot of things that we all have issues with going forward. And but they're very, very basic. They don't do, I remember asking Brian to do a spider guard on me so I can show him a quick, easy way to, one-step pass. And he goes, I don't do spider guards. So I had to kind of tell him where to put his hands and grips and all that, which is actually kind of refreshing. Head out to Memphis. Memphis got good barbecue. Not as good as Texas, but pretty good. And then off to Nashville. Don't get stuck eating those things called goo-goos in Nashville. Those things are pretty awesome. I hate candy, but I got stuck eating those. But anyway, let's kind of get started here. So, everybody's got a success formula for life in general, and jiu-jitsu is no different. Jiu-jitsu is just one portion of life, and if you look at it in that way and don't look at it as just the art, success is really easy, and it takes work. I mean, it's not easy as in anybody can do it, because if anybody could do it, then more people would be doing it. But it's easy in that there is a manual and a step-by-step way to get it done. So a while ago, I kind of related jiu-jitsu to Andrew Carnegie and his Law of Success book. But let's kind of make it a little bit easier. And by the way, don't be afraid to shoot a question if you want to. I've got a little bit of time here. I've got a class that's going to be starting at about 11 o'clock. I'm not going to be teaching it. One of my instructors will be teaching, but I'm going to go there anyway. So, for this particular lesson, I just wanted to use Arnold Schwarzenegger's rules of success, and they're just 5. Unlike Law of Success, which has like 16 or 17. I thought this would actually make it very simple. And if anybody is an American success story, or just a success story in general, it's Arnold. And here's a guy who didn't speak any English, came to the U.S. I mean, sure, he was a bodybuilder, and he's probably one of the most gifted bodybuilders we've seen of all time, but he didn't get there by accident. He went there with a deliberate plan to get there. And he was in Austria, started his bodybuilding, eventually got out and got into and said that he wanted to become a movie star, and did everything he needed to get to that point, and didn't let anybody tell him he couldn't do it. So how does it back up to jiu-jitsu? If you want to get successful in jiu-jitsu, you want to be successful, You just have to have a plan, number one, and then be determined to carry out that plan. Most of us will say yes, let's have a plan, but we won't follow up on it, or we'll kind of forget about it. What you want to do, and you're either going to keep your plan pieces small so you can always remember them and always kind of tell yourself over and over, or you need to write it down. So, I mean, this is all cliche. You guys all know this stuff. You know, you're all successful in your lives and whatever you do. But a lot of people think that it's different to be successful in jiu-jitsu than it is to be successful in other parts of life. You know, a lot of our students, they're successful in whatever they do. You know, we've got successful doctors, we've got successful business people, you know, that all run through our academy. Everybody's got success in their own way. But let me make it easy, and then you'll realize after I go through this, you'll think, shoot, it's no big deal. You know, I can do this, right? I can get to being whatever level I want to in jiu-jitsu. Now, it doesn't also mean that you need to strive for the black belt. You know, you guys know me by now. The black belt means nothing. But it's the journey that's really more important. If you shoot for the black belt, then as soon as you get the black belt, you're going to quit. Like I see a lot of times, we don't see too much at our school because we really don't emphasize the belts. But a lot of people, they shoot for the blue belt. As soon as they get the blue belt, they quit, right? How many of you have seen that before, right? You're in a school and truck passing by the way, but you're in a school and you see somebody get the blue belt and then you don't see them around anymore, right? Usually by purple belt though, once they earn the purple belt, they're going to be coming around, and you know, they'll always be around. By the way, if you can hit the like button, that kind of helps us with the algorithms with YouTube. And if you're not a subscriber, you know, please go ahead and subscribe. But anyway, first key to success is find your vision and follow it, right? So let's not think in terms of long term for now. Let's just think in terms of short term, right? What's the quickest way to eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? So you don't want to pursue jiu-jitsu by trying to go after the whole art. That was my mistake a long time ago, because a lot of it was going toward the competition type techniques. And thanks, Igor, I appreciate it. And what I realized was, when I was a purple belt, I threw the whole thing about being a black belt out of my mind, because I saw what the black belts were doing, and I just thought to myself, holy crap, they're just always coming up with these new techniques. I'm still trying to learn the old stuff. And good quick triangle setup. Oh yeah, okay, well that's a good way to start. So, you know, Joshua Howard was saying he's just looking to get a good triangle setup. Set that as your goal, and just follow it. You know, keep working at it. So think about triangles from every single angle, right? You can get triangles not only from the guard. Most people think it's only from the guard, but no, you can get it from the mount. You can set it up from underneath cross side, or as some people say, side mount. I was just showing the guys last night how to set up a reverse triangle, and it really comes down to capitalizing on a mistake that somebody would have on cross side or side control. So yes, I mean, just look for them all the time, but you have to find that vision. So if your goal is to hit everybody with triangles, you need to keep looking for them and just keep looking, okay? Now, that's a good way to start. Just look for something small, like a triangle. Or it could be, I want to master this one pass, right? That's my vision for now, and I'm just going to concentrate on this for the next month. Or it could be, I'm going to be able to stay mounted on everybody, right? And I'm going, no matter what they do, they're not going to be able to get me off of mount. Or I'm going to choke everybody from the mount, right? No matter what happens, I'm going to choke everybody from the mount. Notice that none of them had to do with, I'm going to get my purple belt. I'm going to focus on getting my purple belt. No, your belt will come as you learn all the pieces and get a good command of all the pieces in jiu-jitsu, right? You know what I did for me when I was a brown belt and I was having to learn Professor Dave's criteria and curriculum when I moved over to his school, was I just thought to myself, from every single position, I'm going to do one thing. So if I was playing guard, anytime I got put in guard, my thought would be, okay, I'm going to choke him out. And that's all I would do, choke him out. On the other hand, if I ended up in somebody's guard, I was only going to pass left-handed, right? And that's all I would do, pass left-handed. So every position that we have, I would have one thing that I would do. So I'd keep it very simple, right? The simpler you keep it, the easier it is to achieve it, and the more goals you can achieve, you exercise your muscles at getting those goals. And once you hit those goals, it's easy to make new goals and then hit those as well, right? Don't make your goals so high that it becomes increasingly difficult to achieve. So if I want to run a marathon, which is 26.2 miles, right? I can't even run 0.2 miles right now, right? But if I tell myself, my goal is to run a marathon, then that goal is so far away from me, the chance of me achieving it is slim to none at this point in time. But if instead my goal is to run a half a mile, then I'm going to run a half a mile. But once I hit it, then I'm going to, okay, I'm going to run 3/4 mile tomorrow, right? Give yourself a series of little goals, because then you get used to achieving goals, right? You make them manageable. There's no such thing as a goal too small unless it's something that you've already done, right? If it's something you've already done, then, no. I mean, that's not an appropriate goal. Okay, so now that you find your goal and you follow it, now you need to think, don't think small, but think big. So, like I said, series of goals. So your short-term goal is this, and you can even write them down. So my short-term goal is to be able to pass everybody's guard in my academy. But my long-term goal is to be able to pass anybody's guard by letting them set everything up in me first. So I'll let them set up a choke in me, and I'm going to be able to pass the guard, right? That's more of a long-term type goal for guard, right? Making your, or last night I had Zach working on passing guard with no hands, right? Because he was a top guy in the class last night, and it really made no sense for him to use his hands because he'd get whatever he wanted. So I would start telling him, put your right hand away, then put your left hand away. They eventually go no hands. And and that's the type of thing that you want to do. But try to be the best at something, but keep that as a longer term goal. That's a big goal, but focus on your small goals for now, right? And don't be afraid to dream big. Just make sure that you have the steps leading there. So like I said, if my dream is to be able to do a marathon, that's fine, but I want to have short-term goals that will lead me in that direction. Half mile, 3/4 mile, 1 mile, that kind of stuff, right? Now here's one that's very hard for us to do. It's even hard for me to do, but I'm getting better at it, right? Running a YouTube channel, you get a lot of these people. Ignore the naysayers. Now what's a naysayer? Somebody who tells you can't do anything, right? What do they know, right? Just because they tried and failed doesn't mean you're gonna fail, right? So, let me get a little better there. If anybody tells you can't do something, then don't. Like if somebody tells you, oh, you'll never pass his guard. Yeah, watch me, right? For me, it's always been like Rickson. For me, Rickson to me is the best jiu-jitsu that I've ever experienced. And for me to aspire to be as good as him, that's a big goal that I want to do, right? But then other people tell me, Ryan, you'll never get there. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know, right? But it's not going to stop me from going in that direction, right? Ignore them. Don't worry about them. It's hard, right? Because we always want to be right. We always want to be somebody that people will ask, hey Ryan, can you answer this question for me? Yeah, I'd love to. So I answer it, and somebody comes out, no, Ryan, you don't know shit. That's wrong. So then what am I going to do? My instinct is to try to think in my head, what evidence do I have that makes my argument right, and prove that person wrong. Now, ask yourself, how much effort does it take to prove someone wrong, right? It takes, as we say here, it takes a shit ton of effort to prove someone wrong, because if they just want to be a dick, they're going to be a dick, right? So, how good should you be to become an instructor or achieve this goal in the long term? Okay, so to be an instructor, you need to know the material you're teaching, right? So let's say, if you think about it in stages, just go with the regular color belts. So if somebody approaches me in the school, normally, historically, we don't really let anybody teach who is below purple belt. But for our Texas Academy, we've had to have blue belts start teaching, because for a while we didn't have any purple belts, right? The Texas Academy only started back in October of 2014, so it takes a while to get people up to speed. But if you want to teach, and that's your passion, number one, you have to want to teach, okay? But first you need to do is make sure you have the curriculum that you want to teach under your command, right? We have a lot of blue belts now, but not all blue belts are going to be teachers. Number one, many of them don't want to be teachers, but at the same time, some of them who may want to be teachers just don't have a good enough command of the techniques in order to become a teacher. So the first step is to make sure you have a good command of your techniques, because if you don't have a good command, you can't really teach. But does that mean you need to know everything? No, you don't need to know everything, because at that level, you're not expected to. But if you learn a curriculum in order, right? That's a big thing that we like to do, learn in order. Then when you teach people, you're going to teach them in order as well. So let's say you've gone through the first 100 steps of the curriculum and you know it like the back of your hand. If you want to teach that and your instructor is cool with that, then what you're going to do is you're going to teach those first 100 steps, but you want to teach the early steps, the ones that you've gone through 100 times, 200 times, 300 times already. Whereas step number 100, you might have only gone through maybe 50 times. Sorry, this thing's starting to move here. Let me try to see if this works a little better. Right? So, but what you're going to do is once you get to the next 200, you get from 100 to 200, then you'll be teaching that. So let's assume 100 to 200 is the journey to purple belt. Provided you learned it all in order. It doesn't make any sense if you're learning stuff like 300, 400, 500 when, you want to teach, or you're going to need to teach people that are not at your level yet, right? That's why to me it's a waste of time learning the so-called advanced techniques, because those aren't going to be taught to beginners anyway. If you're a beginner learning advanced stuff, how are you ever going to teach? You're not going to teach because you don't have the basic curriculum. You don't have the base knowledge to be able to teach somebody who's brand new, just like the way you were when you first started. But if teaching is your goal, just like with anything, go through these 5 steps. So step number 1 is follow your vision, right? Find your vision, then follow it. Step number 2 is think big, but then work through the small stuff, do it step by step, but have that bigger goal in mind. Step 3 is ignore the naysayers, which we just did. And number 4, which is a new one, is work your ass off, right? You get as much out of it as you put into it. Now, let's kind of go back to the whole getting better at jiu-jitsu thinking, right? Because this is 5 steps to success in jiu-jitsu. Working your ass off doesn't mean rolling 2, 3, 4 hours a day. Rolling doesn't make you better. It's drilling that makes you better, right? It sounds weird because you think, how many times have you been rolling? Let's say you've been training for years and you hit a rut and you got no better, but you rolled every single day, right? Or you might have even rolled 2 hours a day every single day, but you still didn't feel like you got better. And the reason is because rolling is fun. It's not work, right? You need to work. Work means doing sometimes the mundane stuff that you don't want to do, but you have to do it, right? The one caveat to that is make sure whenever you're working right. So I remember seeing some blue belts practicing arm bars. They're just drilling it. And one second, I'm not going to move that. They were just drilling arm bars, but the problem is they were doing it wrong. So by doing it wrong, they were just reinforcing the wrong things over and over and over, right? They were working, but they were working wrong. So make sure you do the right thing, figure out the right way to do the technique. Okay, so I thought applying the techniques in a live sparring made you better. Yes and no. Let me kind of back up a bit on that. So you need to drill it. So when I say drill it, you're going to drill it with varying degrees of, there you go, spear jab. Practice makes permanent, not perfect. Great point. Yeah, thank you. You're going to have to drill it with varying degrees of resistance. So I'll give you an idea. So if we're going to do open guard passes, I'll go over the lesson, what I want them to work on. This particular open guard pass, let's do it. So they start doing it. And their partner is very compliant, right? In judo, they call that a compliant uke. Uke being your training dummy, essentially, right? You're very compliant. You let your guy get the pass. And then what I'll say is, after they've done it 10 or 15 times, and I'll say, okay, so whoever's in the bottom, whoever's getting passed, I want you to put 50% resistance in there. So the top guy will start doing it. start passing, with 50% resistance. So which means that it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but not impossible to do. So then he'll get it done, maybe another 10 to 15. So he's gotten better, and now he can do it at 50%. Then I'll tell the guy in the bottom, all right, I want you to resist a little bit more, go 75%. So then he'll go 75%. And the guard passer will have a little bit more difficulty, but being that he's already been working his way up from 0% resistance to 50% resistance, now he's going 75%. Now he's going to have to start figuring out what he needs to do, where he needs to place his weight. His hand position is going to be a little bit more perfect in order to get it done. And then he gets it done at 75%. And then what I'll do is I'll say, okay, guy playing guard, don't let him pass, right? And guy in the guard, I want you to pass. Now, once you pass, stop and get back and do it again. So now we're going full resistance. So full resistance in a position is very similar to what we're talking about live sparring. The difference between live sparring is you'll pass his guard with full resistance, right? Provided you practice it. You'll pass his guard, and once you get to his guard, you'll get the side mount, or cross side as we call it, and then you're going to keep going. When did you go through that pass again? So let's say you did that one pass, you kept going, and you never got to do it again, right? So in that 5-minute round or 10-minute round that you did with this guy, you only had to pass his guard once, because after that you got knee in the belly, you got to mount, and you stayed on mount the whole time. How did that benefit you? How did that rolling session, which is what it turned into, how did that benefit your guard passing? It did not. It absolutely hurt your guard passing, because you did it once and you never did it again. So go back and do it over and over and over. If you spend your whole class just doing guard pass drills and you don't have any time to roll at the end, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you didn't get to roll at the end, right? So what a lot of schools will do is they'll teach the lesson, they'll teach it to you with 0 resistance. Okay, here's how you do the guard pass, do it 5 times, and after that they'll go, okay, I'll show you another guard pass, do that one 5 times with no resistance. Let me show you a third guard pass, we'll do that 5 times. All right, so after that 15-20 minutes has elapsed, and then they'll say, okay, go and pair up, start on your knees and start training, right? How did that help your guard pass? Did you stage the resistance at all? No, because what happens, you went from 0 to 100. And your partner, all of a sudden, he pulls guard on you and he's not going to let you pass. Yeah, choke days. So when we do choke days, somebody just mentioned choke days. Yeah, we'll just choke and choke and choke to the point where your eyes are all bloodshot, and it's horrible. But you get good at choking, right? So drilling is very different from rolling. If you look at the video, I think we had a video a while back, Professor Jack did, called How Good Is Rickson Gracie? I think that's the one he had talked about it, about how Rickson just has you drill and drill and drill and drill, right? If you do something right and you do it 1,000 times, you will be so good at it, right? And even if you break it up by position, today you're going to do passing guard, tomorrow you're going to do playing guard, then you're going to do getting out of mount, then you're going to do mount. Every day is that, and that's all you do. You do no live sparring. Once you get all those positions and techniques down, you turn the sparring on, it'll be easy. So that's how, a lot of people like to say, hey Ryan, you're such an arrogant asshole, why do you think your guys are so good? And I do, I got a bunch of middle-aged guys who are not athletes. I don't have any young athletes, right? That's not what we have. Our school is, most of the people in our school are professionals, right? I've got a physical therapist. I've got 3 pharmacists. I've got, in California, Dave's got 3 physicians, right? These are the kind of people we have. But given your individual life circumstance, right? You don't have time to train every single day because, kids got soccer, they got baseball, they got gymnastics, they got all kind of stuff that you got to do, and it happens to take up the time that you want to spend training, right? If I just had everybody do live training, live sparring, they would get no better. But if I take that time and I compress it into drilling time and just getting better and better and better, they end up picking it up really quickly, and they get really effective at it. Right. So, like I said, you're breaking up the entirety of jiu-jitsu into bite-sized pieces. Guard, pass guard is one, play guard is another. You can break it up into just doing arm bars from the guard. You can break it up into arm bars from the mount. But you have to work in that way. At least that's the way we do. That's the way I believe. Right. So, after you work your ass off, then the last one, number 5, is don't just take, give back. Right. So, if all I did was take, you know, just help myself, two things will happen. Number one is I will never share. And if I don't share with someone what I'm doing, then I'll never know that there may be a better way to do what I'm currently doing, right? I may do something a certain way and it won't work. You know, I'm sharing it with them and they go, well, you know, Ryan, if you did this instead, that would be far more effective. Like, oh, right? If all I was about myself, I'd have never gotten to that point. That's one thing. Another thing is this whole YouTube channel, right? I had mentioned earlier that Combat Jiu-Jitsu loses more money doing a YouTube channel than we do making any money. You know, we're not PewDiePie. You know, we're not you know, all these other people who you see make a living off of YouTube. You know, it costs us money to do it, but at the same time, it helps me because it helps me to kind of answer a lot of questions. Because a lot of times in class, I'm spending time going over concepts. Not necessarily working on jiu-jitsu, but it could be something like a mindset thing. You know, I might have somebody who's having a hard time climbing a ladder, a personal ladder. And because of that, they're having a hard time in jiu-jitsu. So what I'll do is I'll stop and I'll talk to them about it. And then I'll go, you know what? Everybody gather around. This is actually a good point. And I'll go over it with them. And this is the kind of stuff that I would do, you know, that I just put on YouTube. Initially, I did it to answer questions of our students, right? Because Dave didn't really want any techniques on at that time. So we just, you know, I had to figure out a way to pass knowledge on to the students via YouTube. And as it kind of turned out, you know, people are starting to see this kind of stuff. You know, thankfully we're getting people who have websites sharing our videos and stuff, and I get a lot of private messages, as well as some comments on there that we're helping you guys, and I appreciate that I'm able to help you, right? So if you've got something down really well, and somebody that you know in your academy, or somebody that a friend of yours who is another academy is struggling with it, offer to help them, right? It may give them that one piece they needed to take them up a level, right? I want all of you to get really good at this stuff, right? I want you to be better than me, right? I want my students to be better than me, because, you know, people talk about ego, and okay, jiu-jitsu is not ego-less. It's full of ego, right? I'll tell you straight up, you know, we're all egomaniacs. You know, anybody who's good at jiu-jitsu is an egomaniac in some way. It's a matter of just controlling the ego, right? So here's the thing. For me, my personal ego makes me feel really good if I can show somebody something and I get feedback from them and they're like, hey Ryan, you know, thanks so much for showing me that, you know. I got a buddy who I met several years ago. I used to live in Irvine, California, and how long should I do a fundamental class before I choose to roll? You need to know how to at least be familiar with all the escapes from all the bad positions before you roll, and that's why with us, brand new students don't get to roll, because I want to make sure that you're familiar with how to get out of worst position, how to get out of seatbelt, how to get out of mount, how to get out of side mount, how to get out of cross side, how to get out of knee in the belly, how to get out of case-out, how to get out of modified case-out, how to get out of north-south, right? If you don't know, and how to pass guard, if you don't know how to, at least a familiarity, you don't need to be good at them, but you need to know what those positions are, number one, and you need to know at least how you can get submitted, you know, how you can get choked, how you can get armbarred, and then know at least a basic way to move to deal with those. Because if you don't know, right, let's say I'm trying to pass a guard. I don't know anything. I'm rolling my very first day. Somebody puts me in a guard, and I stick my hand out on his chest to you know, he's pulling me down, so I have my hand on his chest to stop him from pulling me down, and I'm using my arm as a kickstand, and he's pulling me, so I've got all my weight on my arm on his chest, and then he goes and locks my arm up, and I've never seen it before, right? And I'm going, oh crap, what's happening here, right? I can move a certain way, but I don't know to tap, right? I've never done this before. I've never seen it before. I don't know to tap to submit. I don't know tapping will stop everything, right? And then I move the wrong way. You know, I can move one way or another way. One way I get out, maybe, and another way I get my arm broke, right? So I happen to move the wrong way, and I do it with power, because everybody who's a beginner level, they don't know how to relax through things. They don't know that sometimes the way to get out is to not fight it, or the way to get out is to go with it. They only know, oh shit, and they move. And when they move with their arm extended, it's fully extended. Let's say another white belt is the one that locked it on, more advanced white belt. Lock that arm bar on. That other white belt who's doing the arm bar doesn't know that the person whose arm is locked up doesn't know how to get out and doesn't know what to do, and that's where accidents happen. White belts hurt themselves and hurt others more than any other belt. Most of the injuries come at white belt, oftentimes at their own hands, but also often at the hands of another white belt. So, for those of you that are just kind of getting into it, don't be so eager to roll yet. Be eager to learn. Be eager to learn all the bad positions. You don't need to know how to choke somebody out to be able to roll, right? If you know how to pass somebody's guard and you know how to do it safely without getting your arm locked up, without getting yourself choked out, but you learn how to pass, you drill, you do the pass. You get to the pass and you get to cross side or side control and you're stuck there. Stuck meaning, I don't know what to do from here. I don't know how to submit him, right? But I'm here, right? I'm safe, I'm on top of him. And that's when hey, professor, I don't know what to do here. That's actually a good problem, because in jiu-jitsu, if you can get to if a guy puts his guard on you, you can pass his guard. You can do it repeatedly, but you don't know what to do after that. It's okay at this point because you're in a good spot, right? So you think to yourself, okay, let's say I'm in a fight, right? And some guy I got into a fight with, he watched the UFC, so he goes, oh, people do guard when they fight, right? So he goes and puts a guard on me real quick. And I pass the guard and I get the cross side. I don't know how to arm bar him. I don't know how to shoulder lock him. I don't know how to choke him out. But I'm in a good position, and what do I do know how to do? I know how to punch his face, right? You can do that kind of stuff, or you can just stay on top of him, right? And wait until help comes, right? So it's far more important to know how to climb the defensive ladder than it is to climb the offensive ladder. So I hope that answered your question. So let me kind of summarize everything here. And I can take any questions if you guys want to pop them up. If you asked a question and I didn't get to it, chances are I didn't see it, because I'm trying to look at the camera here so I can kind of give you guys some eye contact here while I'm talking. So if I'm always looking at my screen here, then it kind of makes like I'm talking to somebody else. Whereas you guys are the special ones that I want to talk to, right? Yeah, how's that for kissing your ass? Let's see. Summarize, right? Number one, find your vision and follow it. Remember, keep a small version of your vision and keep a larger version of your vision. Never ever think small, think big, okay? So for your small ones, remember, you're gonna work small, but also you wanna think big. You wanna have a larger goal in mind. So, for me, what's my goal? My goal is to share Kama Jiu-Jitsu with as many people as I can. In fact, my new friend Dakota, who I saw got on, he knows what we're trying to work out. So this is going to be pretty cool. So Professor Dave and I, we're working on this. But anyway, number three, ignore the naysayers, right? Don't let anybody tell you can't do anything. If something you want to do it, and as long as it doesn't hurt anybody, don't let anybody stop you from doing it, right? Number four, work your ass off. You need to work, right? Not just play. You can mix in some play, right? Rolling, just playing, right? But work your ass off. The more work you get done, and make sure you do good work. Hey, Dakota. And the last thing is, don't just take. Find a way to give back. Now, I need to caution you here on this. Some people just really love to give, right? And that they don't take enough, meaning you want to teach somebody, but you don't know enough to teach, right? Because it's always fun to teach somebody, to help somebody out, because it's kind of a self-esteem boost, right? If I can help somebody, then it makes me feel better, and hopefully it works for them as well. But sometimes you're not quite ready to give back yet, right? You need to have something to give back. So, that whole saying, it's always better to give than to receive. I kind of think that's true to a certain extent, but if I've never received, then I can never give, right? If I've never taken, I can never give back. So you need to be open to taking back. One of the things a lot of people have a problem with is they are reluctant to accept anything, any kind of help, right? They only want to be the generous one, but they don't realize that sometimes for them to get ahead, they need to be able to receive. So, I'm having this discussion with my son right now because my son hates to take, he hates to receive, he only wants to give. But because of that, it kind of puts roadblocks in front of you that you don't really need to try to work on the give. Good, Dusty. Yeah, just just keep practicing and keep learning, and then you'll be able to give back in time. But being a blue belt, you can at least help white belts, right? But think of Mother Teresa, right? Mother Teresa, for those of you that it doesn't matter if you're Christian, Catholic, whatever. Just Mother Teresa as a concept in person, she gave a lot, right? If I'm not mistaken, she died penniless, but she was able to create all these things to help the poor and the downtrodden. If you ask yourself, if she was such a giver, what did she have to give, right? Here's what she did. She took a lot, right? She would go and raise money for her causes, right? She'd be meeting with benefactors, people with money, right? And she was taking their money so she could give elsewhere. If all she did was give, everything would run out at some point and she'd have nothing to give, right? What good are you giving if you have nothing to give? You need to have stuff to give. So once you develop your knowledge in jiu-jitsu, once you develop success in jiu-jitsu, share that success, right? You don't have to share it only by physically teaching someone. You can share it through contributing on a blog post. Contribute to your comments here on Common Jiu-Jitsu on our channel. We love it, right? Even you trolls, that's fine. I like you guys too. Sometimes I feel like responding, sometimes I don't. If I've got time, I will, but because it's fun, right? But at the same time, for the vast majority of you who come to this channel to try to get some kind of wisdom, right? Wisdom kind of makes me sound old, which I kind of am, but I've been around the block a couple of times. But any way I can help you, I'm all for it, right? A number of you have messaged our Common Jiu-Jitsu page, our Facebook page, and have asked for advice or emailed us even, right? Dave and I have been happy to answer those. Sometimes we answer with a video, right? If you want us to do a video, if there's some issue that you're having and you think that we can help you, shoot the idea to us, and maybe I'll do a video on it. At any rate, we're running about 40 minutes right now. I see there's no more questions, and I hope these keys to success will help you. There are many, many, many formulas to be successful. This is just one of them, right? The 5 keys to success. So there's no longer emphasis on self-defense by gym, but I still should train. I train at BJJ school on keeping self-defense straight. Okay, so somebody's just asking about how their gym doesn't do self-defense anymore, but they want to do self-defense. An easy way to get started in it is to find a training partner. Maybe you can kind of pull them aside in the academy, or maybe you have mats. I've always had mats in my house, by the way. I've had mats since like 1994. So I'd always have people come over and just do simple things like either practice some of the self-defense escapes. You can also throw in punches, right? Obviously you're not gonna, you don't want to punch anybody right off the bat, but if you're mounted on somebody, practice slapping them, right? The open hand slaps. Just stay away from the ears because that'll kind of hurt. If you want to punch fine or whatever. Punch with a loose hand. And I always tell my students, aim for the forehead, right? Because if you aim for the forehead, you'll touch them and you'll let them know I got you, but you're not going to hurt them, right? But yeah, as far as stay away from the ears, you're gonna play slap game, slap on the side, slap on the cheek, but don't slap too hard. And you can always, like I said earlier in the drilling part, take it up. So start off with 0%, right? Just move like this, right? Just kind of, if you touch the guy, then it's okay. Then get your movement going. Make sure that you get it done, and then start to slowly take it up. Once you know that you can move and stuff, then start to kind of do this kind of stuff, right? And then, because once you can block them, then it's pretty. It gets pretty automatic. So if you're in a school that's not self-defense driven and you want to do it, then you need to just find a way to practice it or get another school. A guy wants to know about practicing solo. That's one of the hardest things to do, right? So if you want to practice solo, the only thing you can do is if you can visualize, right, bring your other senses into it, that can kind of help you a lot. I know Hickson does it a lot. I do it, Dave does it, Jack does it, right? So we all do it, Fernando does it. But what you can do a lot of times is do the movements. do the shrimps, and imagine somebody cross-side on you and, you know, turning to your side, shrimping out, getting back to guard. You know, do the backward rolls. You know, imagine somebody stacking you and you turning your head correctly and getting over to your knees, right? You know, just think of the movements that, you know, practice the UPA. Imagine somebody mounted on you, and you know, he's on one side, you know, you UPA one way, he's on the other side, you UPA another way. Imagine the transition go from the UPA to the hip escape, right? You know, you can work like that. You can do those solo, and then it's almost as good as having a training dummy work with you with zero resistance. And then what you need to do is, you know, the more that you do those, you will get better. And then when you do have your live partner, okay, which would you say is more important to focus on at the blue belt, purple belt level, developing your timing in transitions or control? They're both very important. You know, the thing is though, a lot of times the difference between a blue belt and a purple belt is not so much what you know, although a purple belt may know a little bit more than a blue belt. It's in the execution. So the purple belt will have a little bit better timing, a little more crisp, and their transitions will be also smoother, and their control will be better. What will happen is if you do things right and you keep drilling and working, and you know, remember to get good at something, you need to do it at least 1,000 times, right? You can't move on. You can't do it. Oh, I did it 100 times. I'm pretty good at it, and then move on. No, you need to go back and revisit it, right? So that's really the difference between a purple belt and a blue belt. Is a purple belt's been doing this probably 3 years longer than a blue belt. So the answer is yes. Work on them all. So work on your transitions and work on your control. But just don't feel bad if you don't have it at a purple belt level, because when you get there, you will. Are there any submission attacks from the bottom half guard? Big guys get to my half guard and I have a lot of sweeps now. You know, I don't know what level you're at, but here's what I tell my white belts and my blue belts. If you're half guard, right? Half guard is not as good as full guard, but it's better than quarter guard. So if you're at quarter guard, your ambition should be to get to half guard. So that being the case, if you're at half guard, what should your ambition be? Get to full guard, right? And if you get to full guard, what should your ambition be? Well, you try to submit, but if you can't, move on to another position. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. So yes, there is stuff that you can do from half guard, but half guard it's relatively easy to pass. Much easier to pass half guard than it is to pass full guard. So if you get stuck in half guard, make it your goal, like I tell all our students, make it your goal to get to full guard, right? Get to a better position. Like I said, half guard is not a good, especially for street, because if you play half guard a lot and that's your go-to position, and if you're in a street situation, let's say you do MMA and you play half guard, you're going to get punched in the face repeatedly. So it's much harder to defend yourself from half guard than it is from full guard. So from half, try to get to full. Okay, so all right, any last questions? I want to thank you guys all for jumping on. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the likes and the subscribes. You know, our subscribes just hit 6,000 last night, and I want to thank you for that. The last time I mentioned it was we hit 5 when Dave launched his Patreon channel. And you know, I want to thank you all who've been subscribing to the Patreon channel as well. That's where all our techniques are. Staying pretty scared. Yeah, I mean, your first day, you know, this guy had his first day yesterday, kind of scared and stuff. Yeah, I mean, it is, especially if a school will throw you in and make you train right away, because you don't know what to do, right? The hard part about when you're training for the very first time, if they put you and make you roll from the beginning against somebody who's much better than you, you need to find a way to calm your nerves and just, you know, don't let yourself get into a fight or flight mentality, because that's when you'll make your mistakes. That's when you'll move the wrong way. That's when you'll get an arm broke. That's when you'll get your neck cracked. That's when you'll get a rib popped. You know, believe me, I've seen all this happen to guys in the early stages of their training, right? So that's why I'd mentioned earlier that you know what? Yeah, you know, I'll have Rusty go and post it in this, but Dakota, I'll get it to you. I'll get it to you on my own. Talking about the Patreon channel. But yeah, all the techniques are on Patreon, and it's not, I won't say all, sorry. We've got right now about 40 to 50 videos on there, but when we first launched it, we launched it with, I think, 20 videos, and we just launched it a month ago. So more and more videos are getting added on. Daniel Pena, preparing for his first competition. Any advice? Hey, Daniel. Let's see. Greetings from Perth. Thanks, BraidTech 1000. So if you're preparing for your competition, what you have to do, though, is you have to know what the point scheme is, what the rules are, right? Here's a quirky thing in competitions, is that they have points, and they have advantages, and they have submissions, okay? If you go for submissions, right, that's good. But in the meantime, you could be losing by points, meaning your opponent could have passed your guard, he could have taken you down, he could have put knee in the belly on you, but you're going for submissions, you know. The thing is with being timed, you know, so if you're a white belt, I think it's 5 minutes. If you're a blue belt, I think it's 6 minutes. Purple belt, it might be 7 or 8 minutes, and then I think black belt is 10 minutes. But you get put behind the 8 ball if you get too many points scored on you, if you're always going for submission. So imagine a boxing match where the guy is only going for the knockout. Right? In the meantime, his opponent keeps jabbing him, jab, move, jab, move, jab. So he's getting all these points, right? So he wins all these rounds. So they're in the 10th round, and the guy who wasn't trying for the knockout, was just trying to score points, is now winning 10 rounds to none, right? The guy who was going for the knockout the whole fight, he has to continue going for the knockout. If he doesn't get the knockout, he's going to lose. And that's the worst thing to me about competition, is that it's not a no time limit thing. You know, there is a time limit, and that you can go for the submissions, but because that's the ultimate test of who's better. You know, if I can submit you, I'm better than you, right? Or at least I'm better than you in this one moment. But the reality of competition is that there are points. Now, let's say no points are scored, right? You're good at stopping the guy from scoring any points on you. Then they have what are called advantages, which are really, I tried to score, but I wasn't successful. But since I tried, I'm going to get a brownie point for it, right? So there's your advantages. Well, I've seen matches where you have no points, no advantages, and what happens? It goes to the ref. What's the ref going to choose? I don't know, right? It depends, right? If you're on a small team and you're up against a guy from a big team, I would bet you dollars to donuts the guy in the big team is going to get the win from the ref, right? That's just my hunch, but that's just anyway. Anyway, phone's running low. I got to jump anyway. I got to run to check into the class. I want to thank you guys. God bless you all, and let me know if there's anything I can do to help. Either hit us Facebook page, email us, commentjujitsu@gmail.com, or comment below. Take care now. Bye-bye.